Hi everybody, and welcome to Cooking with Class. I'm Emily Fowler.
And I'm Stacy Tennant.
And we're welcoming a guest chef to our kitchen today, and that is Andrew Kneessy. He's the executive chef at the Kansas City Country Club, and he's also an apprentice supervising chef for the culinary program here at Johnson County Community College. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Mm-hmm. You bet. We mentioned you're an apprentice supervising chef. Can you tell us a little bit about, we know you supervise students that are in the culinary program here at the college. Tell us a little bit about how you do that and how you interact with them.
Okay, well, I pretty much have had 3 to 4 apprentices on my staff at a time since I've gotten involved in the program, which is when I moved to Kansas City about 8 years ago. Mm-hmm. I bring them in, they start off on my cold side generally, and from there they rotate around the kitchen, working sauté, grill, banquets, pastry, all different aspects of the kitchen.
I see. And it's a pretty fast-paced environment from what I hear, right?
It is a very fast-paced environment. At the club, we are kind of 4 restaurants rolled into one. We do banquets, we do fine dining, we do casual dining, we do cookouts on the course for 1,500 people. Wow. So they get a lot of experiences, different experiences at the club.
That's great. So they do that for you full-time, and they also go to school full-time, so they're very busy kids, right?
Absolutely. It's really remarkable because I try to keep everybody at a 40-hour week with 2 days off for close on Monday. Mm-hmm. So they get 1 extra day off, but it can get busy during the summertime, right about now, and then during the holiday season. It's a lot of work, and for them to do their logbook and all that stuff and their commitment to school and work, I know it's a lot.
That's great. Well, we thank you for helping out with that because I know they learn a lot from you.
Well, good, thank you.
Well, so you're here today to cook with us, and you're going to be preparing risotto for us.
I am. I'm going to dispel the myth that risotto is difficult to prepare.
That's a good myth to dispel.
And I think that a lot of people are intimidated by risotto in general. Mm-hmm. I know that everybody likes to eat risotto, but I think that they should also be able to prepare it for themselves too. Sounds
good. Shall we get started?
We can do that, absolutely.
Let's do it.
Okay, I'm going to do a basic risotto. The thing about risotto is it's so versatile. You can make anything from this risotto. You could make a mushroom risotto. You could make a seafood risotto with some minor variations, but the base is going to always be the same. In restaurants, you find that places that have it on the menu, what we have to do is we have to par cook the risotto. So we'll cook it where it's about 3/4 of the way prepared, spread it out on a sheet tray to cool down, and then during a very busy service, we'll heat it up again with more hot stock and finish the process.
I see.
That's why risotto is kind of, not every restaurant likes to have risotto on the menu because of that challenge. And then at the end, I'll talk about the advantages of leftover risotto, which are absolutely my favorite stuff. So I'm just going to cut this onion up here. Most of the other stuff I have. We're today going to do a grilled summer vegetable risotto.
Okay. Now, are you cutting the onion fine, or does it matter how you cut it?
It doesn't. I'm going to cut it fairly fine. I'm not going to worry that much about it because when you cook it down in the risotto, it gets sweated down for a while, and then by cooking it into the risotto, it's pretty much lost within the risotto. You're not going to have chunks of raw onion. You're not going to really see this cooked onion at all. So it's really a flavoring component. Oops. I didn't want to put that in there. Cut.
That's why we have the trash can, right?
So you're using a whole onion, and how much risotto are you going to prepare?
I'm going to do 1.5 cups of risotto,
okay.
Arborio rice, which I will briefly talk about. We have a box of Arborio rice here. There's 2 types of rice. Risotto is the dish, and it is prepared with a rice, the most common being Arborio and Carnaroli, which are 2 rices that you will find most often actually in grocery stores now. I mean, 15 years ago, you had a hard time. You have to go to a specialty gourmet market, but I go to the Brookside grocery store, the Brookside Market, and they have it there. So.
Oh, there you go. So anybody can probably pick it up in their neighborhood grocery store.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Are there any major differences with the 2 rices, or are they?
Not really. They are both very versatile, great for making consistent risotto.
Right.
What you want to make sure that you never do with the risotto is run out of your hot stock.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to sweat.
And you've got your hot stock already prepared back there.
I do.
Okay.
In an effort to save some time. This is EVOO.
Oh yeah, a little
Hey.
Rachel Ray.
Oh yes, a Rachel
terminology.
Ray. But I must point out that people in the industry have been talking about EVOO for 25 years or so. So
So she's not your hero?
no, she's okay. But,
Oh, okay.
yeah. I'm more of a Mara Batali guy, I guess.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, I'm going to sweat the onions.
And sweating it just means putting it in the oil, kind of sauteing it a little bit?
Yes, without any color. So I don't want any color. I'm going to have some little ugly brown specks in my risotto. So I am going to play with my piano here, as it's called in the industry. I often tell my apprentices, you see that knob on the stove? Don't be afraid to use it. It's okay. Up and down. Adjust the heat. So we're going to get a good sweat, get the flavor out of here. And then we will add our rice, and we're going to stir the rice in really well to coat it with the oil.
Okay.
And then we will start adding our hot stock. So it's relatively time consuming, but it's not so that you truly need to stand here and continually stir the risotto, which I think a lot of people believe it takes so long. You have to stand there and stir it. You can actually have a risotto working. You can be over here sipping on your glass of wine, making something else for dessert.
Where's the
during dinner.
wine, man?
You know, so.
Andrew, how long have you been cooking?
I have been cooking for 23 years.
Really? And you say you've been in Kansas City for 8 years. Were you in other locations before that, I assume?
No, I've been at the Kansas City Country Club for 8 years. I came here from the historic Georgetown Club in Washington, D.C., where I was the chef for 7 years. And my wife is from Kansas City. So I really convinced her to come to Kansas City. I would come to visit and love the fact that there's not a lot of traffic and compared to the East Coast. I worked at the White House and the Blair House while I was in Washington also.
Oh, wonderful. So you cooked for a few dignitaries in your time, yeah?
Sure, sure. I was really the hired gun, I guess. I was an on-call person at the White House. It's a very small staff in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So they would call me up. I was working at the Ritz-Carlton for Gerard Pango, and I would go in there in the mornings and work in the White House for a while. And then I got my first chef job, and all of a sudden I was working 80 hours a week and didn't have a lot of time for the freelance stuff.
So is there a president's favorite dish that you'd like to share with us?
You know,
Chocolate ice cream
I can't
at
say that, but I know that I did prepare President Clinton's first meal at the White House, his breakfast, and it was a big hearty breakfast at that. Okay, I'm going to add my arborio rice.
Okay.
Now, how many cups did you just add?
That's 1.5 cups.
1.5 cups? Okay.
I'm going to toast it pretty well.
Now, the rice doesn't actually cook in the pan. It cooks to the chicken stock, right?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
We're kind of toasting it. Evenly coating. It's like you would with a rice pilaf also. You would do that to coat the rice.
Now, what's the difference between rice pilaf and risotto?
Rice pilaf is made with usually a medium grain rice, and it actually, you cover and it steams, the rice steams, so the liquid will cook from the bottom and steam the rice up, where this you're going to be stirring the whole time. You want to pull the starch out of this. So now I'm going to add a cup of white wine.
There's your wine.
There's the wine.
There's your wine. Hold on, I'll
I
save
need
a little.
a cup of white wine.
And I'm going to let that reduce.
Now, what do you mean by reduce?
Reduce the liquid, so I'm going to let that liquid reduce down until almost dry and add more. And what that does is it'll help keep the starch from developing. If I just add like cold liquid or too much liquid, then the starch will come out of the rice and I'll have really gummy risotto.
Okay, and that's not what you want.
That is not really what you want. You want a creamy al dente risotto.
Okay.
And one thing that I did not grab here that I would love is a little bit of salt and pepper.
I'm your girl. Hang on.
Stacy knows the kitchen, so she knows where to go to get that stuff. Now, risotto's a traditional Italian dish, is that right?
It is a traditional Italian dish. It originated in the Piedmont area of Italy, which is the northern area known for some fabulous red wines. In fact, they have a Barolo risotto, which is made with Barolo, the red wine varietal, and that you actually add to cook the risotto, so it's a real hearty. And that's the thing about risotto. Risotto is a dish that you could, but depending on the ingredients that you add into it, would match well with a wine. So if you add the Barolo and you add like braised short ribs to it, it's going to be great with a red wine. Whereas if you want to add a Chardonnay and kind of keep it light, you could add lemon zest, you could add grilled shrimp, things like that. Then you're talking about a great Chardonnay or great white wine. So
it can really be customized to your menu.
Exactly. Customized to your wine cellar, your wine collection, or whatever wine you have on the cabinet that day. Okay, now I'm going to start adding a little bit of this chicken stock. Stock is very important. You want a nice flavorful stock. I'm using chicken stock today. You can get a pretty nice quality, low sodium, I recommend, chicken broth at the store. If you want to be vegetarian, you just make a stock from carrots, onions, celery, throw in a bunch of onions, and let that sweat down. I'm sorry, not sweat down, let that cook down. Okay. Cover it with water, and then you make a nice flavored vegetable stock, maybe some fresh herbs, some fresh thyme. And then you just use that as your broth, as you want a nice, well-seasoned broth.
This is smelling really good. I wish you could all smell it, because you can smell a little bit of the onion, a little bit of the wine, and now the broth.
And you can see you always want to keep it simmering like this. You never
kind
want
of
to add enough
rapid
liquid.
boil, yeah.
Yep, a nice little simmer there.
And here comes Stacy with your salt and pepper.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Oof. I'm just going to add a little bit of this now. I'm going to hold off on that black pepper. You want the rice to absorb the liquid before I add more.
So you don't want to drown it. You don't want to put in too much broth.
Now, as I said, you don't have to stand there and constantly do it as I'm doing that. So we're going to have a little bit more broth, and then I'm going to mince my chives.
Okay.
Do some more prep work.
Don't you wish you had one of those chef apprentices here right about now to be chopping the chives for you?
I do. That would be nice. Okay.
While you're working on that, I'm just going to tell our folks at home that if you'd like to get all of the segments of Cooking with Class that we're doing, you can go to our website. That's www.jccc.edu and search for culinary. Go to the Hospitality Management Culinary website, and there'll be links to ordering the DVDs. If you'd like to watch this on the web, we have a video website that you can also pull up the same way, or you can go directly to video.jccc.edu and watch it anytime, 24 hours a day. So if you need to get back and see what Andrew's been doing one more time before you try it on your own, you can do that on the web.
How are we looking over there?
We're looking good. We're probably almost halfway. Okay. We're almost to the point where if we were going to use it at the restaurant, we would pull it out and cool it down for service.
Right. Okay. So that's the al dente you're talking about?
That is. Well, the al dente, I still want it to be al dente. This is more like el cruncho.
Oh, yeah.
That's another culinary term for you folks.
It is a culinary term. There's al dente, but then people that get too caught up in making things al dente, they've been known to make things el cruncho, which is barely blanched. So there's, a little bite to it is good, but you don't want it to be like raw when you're using certain applications.
Makes sense. You were telling us you did a golf tournament recently. That must have been a busy time for you too.
It was a very busy time. We had our annual tournament. It's a member guest golf tournament, 3 days, and finished up with a big party on Saturday night, which was a station reception. Went really well. We did Maryland-style crab cakes prepared tableside, and since I come from the D.C. area, I take pride in using a lot of crab and not a lot of filler, so they're mighty fine crab cakes. And everybody was very happy with them. And then I got up yesterday morning and rode my bike to Weston with my son for Father's Day for a 34-mile bike ride after that weekend to kind of punish myself, I guess.
Burn off those crab cakes.
Burn off those crab cakes, yeah. So that was a lot of fun.
So about how much chicken stock do you prepare to have ready to add?
The recipe
in a
calls
thing like
for
this?
5 cups of chicken stock
Okay.
for the 1.5 cups.
Wow.
But the most important thing with making risotto is you do not want to run out of hot stock.
Mm-hmm.
If you run out of hot stock and your risotto's not done, it's really, really painful.
Right.
More El Cruncho for you.
Yeah, more El Cruncho. So that's the one thing. You'd rather have a little bit of extra stock than not have enough.
Okay.
You know, we're lucky at the when we're making risotto at the club where I work. We always, you know, have plenty of chicken stock and hot stock. So.
Well, what if you do run out of chicken stock? I mean, do you add water and more salt, or what?
I would say that you would consider turning it into risotto cakes, which we're going to talk about a little bit, or pulling it off, spreading it out to let it cool and stop the cooking process as best you can, heating up. I hate to say this, water. So let's say some white wine, maybe some white wine, a little bit of water. If you absolutely have no more chicken stock.
Or run to the store.
I've been known to actually. I think I have when preparing it at home. Use chicken soup one time and just kind of strain and use the chicken stock, or you can use bouillon cubes, chicken
Okay.
bouillon cubes, stuff
So
like
something
that.
with flavor then, not just bland water.
No.
Okay.
This is about where I would pull it off to spread out for service. Let it cool down. So we are
Coming down the home stretch?
coming
or
down the
a
home
little bit?
stretch, probably 3/4 of the way here.
Great,
So what does
great.
the consistency look like?
The consistency, it's almost like an oatmeal,
Mm-hmm.
I guess is how I would describe it. And for people that are going to do this and do it as a dinner party, it's probably less stressful to do this where you cook it 3/4 of the way done, lay it out, and then you're done with that, and then you just finish it. And finishing it only takes a couple of minutes.
Right.
So you can kind of do that
So it's something you can prepare ahead of time.
right.
Or you can have your friends stand around in the kitchen with you and you can just cook.
People end up in the kitchen all the time,
Don't
don't they,
they?
at parties and stuff? So yeah, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Everybody hangs around while you finish your risotto.
I want to remind people that if you're looking for the recipe for risotto, you can do that also by going to the Johnson County Community College website, www.jccc.edu, and search for culinary, and go to the Hospitality Management Culinary website. There'll be a link there to the recipes for you.
I am going to finish this with some Parmesan cheese, shredded Parmesan Reggiano, which is a very nice Parmesan, some grilled summer vegetables that I have brought. Some people will throw in a little bit of cream to make it a little bit creamier. Purists aren't really for that, but it's okay.
Okay.
Butter's good in anything, right?
Butter's more butter.
But if you want to make it a little bit on the healthier side, you don't need it. It's creamy enough. But that kind of adds the added kind of the sheen and the butteriness.
The starch from the rice is what makes this dish creamy, right?
Yes.
Since you haven't obviously added any cream.
Yep.
And plus the cheese. I can't wait.
And you're doing a summer vegetable version, but you'd mentioned you can do mushrooms, you can put in beef, you can do just about anything, right?
Right. You have the flavoring ingredient is, if you were going to do a mushroom risotto, you might want to, buy, if you're going to use button mushrooms, you take the button mushrooms, you take the stems off, and you take the stems and you would cook those down in your chicken stock, sweat them down, again that term sweat,
Right.
slowly cook down, add your chicken stock to that, let that simmer, that's going to impart the mushroom flavor. So you would use that to make your mushroom risotto and then finish it with some sauteed mushrooms at the end.
I see. So
Something
flavor
like
the
that.
stock, and then as
Absolutely.
you add that to the risotto, it flavors the risotto.
Sure.
I'm really starting to feel like maybe I could do this in my kitchen at home.
I have
You
faith
could
in
do
you.
it.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, I am going to cut these vegetables up a little bit smaller,
Okay.
a little bit more chive.
And what vegetables did you bring?
Zucchini, yellow squash, eggplant, red peppers, red onions. And the technique for this is the Kung Fu grip, G.I. Joe Kung Fu grip.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody remembers the G.I. Joe Kung Fu grip.
I was more a Barbie person, but I know what you're talking
Okay.
about.
That would be the first thing to teach the apprentices, so we don't have injuries in the kitchen.
There you go.
Okay.
I know our students, after they're in our program, they have to purchase their own cutlery and find some really wonderful knives to use. And then do those stay with them
They
for
do.
their
And
careers or whatever?
Absolutely. I encourage everybody that's an apprentice to get their own knife kit and take pride in it. I am an operation that is so busy and has people that veg prep with people that I deal with Ambrosi Brothers for a service, so they will bring knives every 2 weeks. But I encourage all the apprentices, and they all have knife kits, to kind of build their collection and start it.
Adding just a little more broth there.
That's probably going to do it.
Great.
On the broth. And as the process begins now, you can even stir less and less as it goes. Like at the very beginning, you know, as you're adding your broth, you want to maybe be there a little bit more, stirring it. I'm just going to rough cut this up.
So those are grilled vegetables you got.
They are grilled vegetables tossed in EVOO. And a little balsamic and salt and pepper, fresh thyme on the grill. And I am just going to toss this into there.
Maybe you could bring your pot over here under this camera so they can see the overhead shot.
Okay.
Do you think?
Sure.
Very colorful. Got some red, some green.
It is very summery, very colorful. And this is rather on the healthy side too, as you see. I mean, olive oil, grilled vegetables. There's some Parmesan, but that's a hard cheese, so as far as cheeses go. We're going to add a little bit of this coarse ground black pepper. Carefully measured out.
So this dish probably takes about like 15 or 20 minutes to prepare fully.
I would say that, yeah, 20 minutes.
But it really just depends on the doneness of the arborio rice.
Yes, and the size. This is going to serve 4 to 6 people. Sometimes we do giant batches of this stuff,
Right.
and then fortunately you're standing over the stove for an hour. But as I said, you know, you're doing production prep work kind of while that's going.
Yeah. So you're multitasking.
You
at
got to
all times.
multitask in a professional kitchen. Yeah,
That's right.
If I see my apprentice just standing over a risotto pot and doing nothing else, it makes me very mad. We want to. That's a very important skill for these apprentices to get, is multitasking. And truly, what I sometimes do is I've made lists with the apprentices and say, okay, what have you accomplished from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock? And we'll write up that list. We'll go through everything. And this is at the beginning of their apprenticeship stage. And I'll put that in my drawer. And then like 2 years later, we'll pull out the list and we'll both kind of giggle about it. Like, because now it becomes 30-minute list as opposed to
a
4-hour list.
What do you know?
How are we doing?
Doing good. Yummy.
The taste test is always
Yeah.
the best.
Maybe we should try it.
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. I'll bring it over here.
Okay.
Never set a pot or pan on your cutting board. Okay? Even if Bobby Flay jumped and stood on his cutting board.
Okay, our shot's not catching this though, so maybe we can move the cutting board out of your way. A little bit. There we go.
Okay, I'm just going to stir in the rice. I'm going to stir in these vegetables.
Great.
They are done earlier room temperature, so.
You cooled the vegetables to room temperature. Is that necessary, or that's just the way we did it today?
It's just the way we did it. So
Okay.
I, again, prepared them ahead of time,
Yeah.
had them grilled. I guess I just don't want to throw refrigerated, ice cold grilled vegetables in the risotto to cool it down.
Right.
Now, I'm just going to finish with a little bit of olive oil.
Rachel Ray would be proud.
Yeah.
All the EVOO you've
Your
got
hero.
in there.
Dude, I love EVOO. Risotto is commonly served as a first course, as an appetizer. It can certainly be a meal, a one-dish meal.
Oh, that looks great.
You could take some grilled shrimp and garnish this with it.
Looks perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Well, shall we?
Looks good enough to eat. Thank you.
Work for you?
Chef, would you like a fork?
Sure, that would be wonderful. You have to taste your own food, right?
That's right. It can't just look good. It has to taste good, too.
It's going to be hot.
Okay.
All right. Gotta be careful.
Oh, my gosh. Go ahead.
Ladies first.
Oh,
Thank
you are such a doll. That's a big old bite.
Oh, that's wonderful. The Parmesan. A little bit of onion in there. Very, very good.
Thank you.
Andrew Kneessy, thank you for coming and joining us today for Cooking with Class.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Great. And we will see you next time when we're cooking with class at JCCC.